All right. Another episode here of Confessions of a Street Broker. And you're about to witness the strength of street knowledge right here. Got a lot of stories with this man right here, Jesse Pruitt. Jesse, welcome, man. Thanks for being on here today.
Thank you, Jeremy, for inviting me. I'm really excited about this.
So I want to throw a curveball here and start off with this. So you played college football at Texas Tech.
Sure
what are
did.
your thoughts on the NIL?
I hate it.
You hate it?
I think it's making it pro. Instead of being a athlete, you're a pro athlete, not a collegiate athlete.
Yeah.
And it's not fair because some of the people are making big money, and the guys in the lines aren't making the money.
Right.
I was in the line.
Yeah. Right. Me too. I think the one thing that's interesting that Tech is doing, though, through that is that they're at least giving everybody something, which is good. But yeah, they got to I think they got to regulate this. It can't be, it's pretty much turned into every year's free agency and there's no salary cap.
And everybody leaves when they want to leave. I think they've really destroyed college athletics, in my opinion, especially football and basketball and baseball.
Yeah. It's, I thought it was interesting. We were at one of those luncheons and Joey Maguire was talking and he said, this is worse than the NFL because at least they sign a contract in the NFL.
He's right. He's right.
And leave, So, well, man, glad you're here today, man. I know you have so much history to talk about in Dallas real estate, but, I like to kind of just start off at the beginning and kind of tell your story. Where'd you grow up and all those things. And
I grew up in Glen Rose, Texas. My family has been there before the turn of the century.
Mm-hmm.
My great-grandfather was the first doctor there around 1910. And my family were involved in banking and ranching. And also there's a book out about my family, and it was during Prohibition when they were selling whiskey to the speakeasies in Dallas and Fort Worth.
Okay.
It's
Do y'all still make? Does anybody still make whiskey in your family?
No, but I remember growing up when we were 16, 17 years old, hunting down the river. Somebody see us steal and say, "Run, run! They might shoot you."
Oh, it's awesome. So,
and I graduated with 25 kids in my class, and 10 of them were cousins.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had a small high school. Had 109 kids in high school when I was a senior.
Oh, wow!
And
did they have classifications back then? Were you like a Class A or 2A?
We were Class A.
Okay,
we were Class A.
All right.
And I think we like I was saying, we won 2 games my senior year, and one of them when we beat Cedar Hill in Springtown. We were really proud of that. But I was very lucky to get a scholarship.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
So who all recruited you?
Well, this is a funny story. Actually, it ended up A&M and Texas Tech, but I verbally committed to A&M.
Okay.
Because they'd come to watch another kid from Clifton play, and they came, and the coach from Clifton said, "You need to go next door and talk to that Pruitt kid. He's pretty good." Mm-hmm. And they came and talked to me, and I kind of verbally committed to A&M, and it was a handshake back in those days.
Yeah.
And because I did a lot of FFA, I was in meat judging, poultry judging, land judging, and all that, and all the finals are always down at A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very comfortable with A&M. But Coach Conley, John Conley at Tech, kept coming to see my mom, and my mother said one day, "Son, you need to go visit Texas Tech." Mm-hmm. I said, "Mom, I don't even know where it is." And she said, "Coach Conley is a good Christian man. You need to go visit it."
Yeah.
So February 14th, 1963, my coach had a 59 Chevrolet, and we started driving to Lubbock.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to get there at 6 o'clock, but the water pump went out in Snyder.
Oh.
So we didn't get there at about midnight, and the lights were on. And Coach Schilke, my high school football coach, German, mean as hell, told me, Pruitt, get out and look at who was here. I said, Coach, nobody, get your ass out, boy. And opened up, and there's 2 coaches. And I said, what are y'all doing? He said, waiting on you.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I was trying to get a degree in chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 2 really good-looking girls take me over to the chemistry building.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I said, A&M's all military and no women. I had a tough decision, but I decided. Coach King asked me, would you like to come? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, you'll have to call A&M, tell them you're not coming. Now, this is all verbal.
Yeah.
That's the way it was in those days.
Yeah.
And so I did and ended up at Tech.
That's awesome. So funny, so Jeff went to Rice,
Yeah.
played football at Rice and he never dated one girl at Rice. There's not very many women there. And so when it came time for me to get recruited, and I'd never been to Lubbock. I didn't know anything about Texas Tech, but they gave me tickets to they played Oklahoma State in Texas Stadium, and they have a recruiting thing. They give you tickets to come to it and all that stuff. And again, Jeff was very adamant about being involved in my recruiting to be like, you're not going to go somewhere like Rice. He's like, I want you to go somewhere where there's a college experience. And we got to that game, and there were so many beautiful women, and I was like, this is an away game. The home games have to be incredible. So that was really what kind of my college choice. So I went up to Lubbock, and I was like, okay, this sounds cool. This will be fun. So
I really, I just got in as I'm chairman. I was chairman of the board of College of Arts and Science. I'm still in Arts and Science, and I'm in several other, Matador Club and Red Redder Club, and I'm past national president of Texas Tech alumni.
Yeah.
And I just got in as a distinguished alumni in the College of Arts and Sciences past summer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got a degree in biology and chemistry?
Well, minor in chemistry.
Minor. So, yeah. Okay. So why did you want to be a doctor?
No, I had always done well in the regional science fair.
Oh, okay.
In Baylor.
Yeah.
And I had a great science teacher in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, that back in my days, the teachers were very important, and she was very good. And so I decided I wanted to go into chemistry, really.
Mm-hmm.
But when I decided once I got to Tech that I'd do both biology and chemistry.
Yeah. So, you're there did they redshirt back then, or did y'all just start?
No, we
okay.
redshirt.
Okay.
Our freshmen didn't play at all. We had our own league.
That's right.
We had our own league. And I actually tore up my knee my freshman year.
Oh, okay.
And then I redshirted. And then I ended up, I crammed a 4-year program into 5.5 years.
Yeah. Well, it's not a bad place to do that.
Well, I was a GA
yeah.
for 2 years. And one of those years, I was also playing for the West Texas Roughnecks out of Odessa.
It's like a semi-pro team or something? Yeah.
Semi-pro team.
So you were GA, and so did you think you want to go the coaching route at some point?
At one point, I was offered a couple coaching jobs.
Yeah.
But I was science-oriented and thought I'd like to go in the science field.
Okay. So after 2 years of GAing, did you get into the science world at that point?
I came to town, to Dallas.
Okay.
And, of course, I didn't know anybody really, but I went to Snelling and Snelling. And they got me 5 appointments and with science-oriented companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided I had interviewed with Sergeant Welch, scientific company out of Chicago.
Okay.
And they offered me a job, and I took it as a salesman.
Yeah. Okay. So they had a Dallas office based out of Chicago.
5915 Peeler over by the Coca-Cola bottom plant up in Mockingbird.
Yep. So, and what were you selling for them?
Scientific equipment, spectrophotometers, gas chromatographs, Mettler balances, and a lot of the supplies too, beakers and chemicals and everything. We had everything. We sold to high schools, colleges, and any place that had a lab.
Yeah. So this is about 1970?
I started there in 66.
66. Okay. So 66 outside sales, most likely. Okay. So outside sales, door to door, cold calling. And then how big was your territory?
Territory was North Texas, part of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana.
So what was the system back then? Just like Rolodex of cards and just get in the car and go pretty much?
Yeah. Oh, I was 2 weeks out and 1 week in.
Oh, man.
And stayed mostly in roadways.
And just keep a roll of quarters on you and
dimes.
Oh. It wasn't even a quarter then.
No, it was a dime.
How long were you with them?
I was with them 3 years as salesman and 3 years as a manager.
Okay.
A regional manager.
So they started to promote you up as a regional manager. They gave you a sales team underneath you.
Yeah, I had 8 salesmen.
Gotcha.
And I actually, at that time, Sergeant Welch was you had to have a chemistry degree.
Mm-hmm.
And 99% of all the salesmen across the country, we had about 123 salesmen, were men.
Mm-hmm.
And I fired a guy at Oklahoma, and I hired a biology woman for that territory, and she tripled the territory in the first year.
So what did they use that equipment for exactly?
Mostly it was quality control.
Okay. Gotcha.
Research and quality control.
Okay.
But basically quality control.
Yeah. So sales manager there, you're there 6 years, and then what's next?
Well, it's kind of funny how I got into real estate.
Okay.
I was living in a garage apartment in Highland Park for Joe Windrow, who worked for Vantage.
Okay. And
Joe was a major during World War II, and he was officer at the day, I believe, at Pearl Harbor. So he was an Aggie.
Okay.
Yeah, he was obviously back in those days.
Yeah.
But he was a salesman for Vantage Company.
Okay.
And so when I was in town, I had a garage apartment, and he invited me up to the big house for drinks sometime. And so I went up there one Friday afternoon, and he said, we were talking, and I said, Joe, they'd already offered me national sales manager.
Yeah.
And I said, Joe, they're about to ship me to Chicago, and I don't want to go further north in Denton County.
Yeah.
And he says, well, why don't you get in the real estate business? And I went, what would I do? He said, lease space. I said, well, Joe, I'm a pretty good salesman, but I don't think I'd sell something that's not there, scientifically thinking.
You're leasing air.
Yeah. He said, so let me get you a meeting with our president.
Yeah.
So this was March 14th of 1974.
Okay.
I went over to talk to John Ulick,
mm-hmm.
and he offered me a job. He told me, I said, how much are you going to pay me? And he said, $650 a month and any kind of car you wanted. But that didn't work that way. 4-door Chevrolet. And started there. And then 50 years later, I'm still here.
When did John start Vantage?
He started Vantage in about 65. He and Crow were partners.
Okay.
And they got a big dispute. And John left and tried to start it. Now, I'm going to give you what I heard. This is from Ulick. That he couldn't get credit in any of the banks because Trammell told the banks not to let him have credit.
Yeah.
Well, he got some, he was from Kansas City and knew some people in Kansas City, and they helped him build a suit over off of Beltline Road. And then the banks kind of loosened up. Republic was our number one bank.
Gotcha.
That we banked. And we ended up banking quite a few banks.
So he hired you as a leasing agent to start. So, and you were leasing Vantage's existing portfolio.
All right, Joe Winrow, the first day I was there, gave me his card. I scratched out his name and started walking down Farrington Street. You know where that is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And actually, I got to the end of the street. It was probably not more than 10,000 square foot building. And the guy in there says, I need to get another building. I need more clear height. I went, oh, okay. So I go back to Joe. Joe, what is clear height? I didn't know what in the world he's talking about.
Well, there's not much clear height on Farrington Street.
14's a good one.
yeah, that's a gym over there. So I've made many calls on Farrington Street. So you're doing a lot of leasing for them. Had they built Inwood Trade Center at this time?
No. We had already built that.
Okay, so you were leasing that out.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what, I can't tell you. I think at one point, I might have had put 50% of the tenants in Inwood Trade Center. I mean, I had a joke at one point.
We had security on one side in Inwood, but we bought Inwood.
Oh,
but we built security.
Okay, so the security side. I did a deal on the Inwood side, but mostly on the security side of the warehouse.
Security side.
But I mean, I think at one point when I was down, I was like, golly, I think I represent the tenants and Vantage represents the landlord. Like I had every renewal rolling in there, but man, they were always great to work with and very easy to get a deal with and get it, seemed to just get the process and always got it done quickly. And
we were back in those days. Really, Crow and us were the only two developers doing industrial.
So, did you ever transition then in the development side with John on that stuff?
After I can't even remember when it was, but I was salesman of the year a couple times, and then he made me sales manager. Mm-hmm. Or VP of marketing. Yeah. And then I started training guys to work for me.
So did you ever like actively go seek build-to-suit opportunities as well?
Oh, yeah. So, we did everything. I did build-to-suit. My first year second year in the business, I did a build-to-suit.
Oh, okay. Because it seemed like Vantage, in my experiences with them in the time window that they were around, was like just leasing their own product, really. But did y'all do any like third-party tenant rep type stuff or anything like that? No, just look for build-to-suits to build a building and lease your own product?
That's right.
Gotcha. Okay, so he makes you sales manager. You got a group of guys underneath you you're running, and then did you continue to do the leasing side, or did you focus more on the build-to-suit stuff?
Well, I did mostly build-to-suit at that time.
Yeah.
And building our specs.
Okay.
I probably built 20 million of specs.
Yeah. Yeah. So, building a building, I've never done it. I had a pre-development meeting the other day with the city of Dallas about building a building. I immediately hung up, called Will in there and said, we're terminating this deal. I don't want to do this. This sounds like a lot of work.
It is. It is now. Working with the cities is very difficult.
Yeah. And so how was it back then working with? Was the cities a lot more easier to work with? I mean, you kind of probably knew someone down there. And
I felt like it was. I mean, I can't remember really.
Yeah.
But we didn't have the number of problems that we run into today.
Yeah. And
it was a lot different, just completely different.
So you just go call on people and see if they needed more space, and can we just build you a building to do that? Or
can we lease you space? That's what we did. It was really kind of funny because you asked me something about memorial experiences in cold calling. Well, I had over off of Irving Boulevard. It was Mrs. Johnson.
Uh-huh.
I thought she's about 80, but I think she's probably 50. Because I was 30. And she had a truck depot.
Okay.
And she was a woman running it. And she told me, I cold called her, and she said, I need 25,000 feet. I think that's what it was. And so I showed her two of our facilities. She said, I'd like to get this one. But before I could get it back, one of our guys had already got a lease in. So I went, oh, God. So I went to tell her that, and she kind of called me several names and told me never to come back. Well, I decided I waited about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I bought a dozen roses and walked in and gave them to her. Yeah. And I made a 30,000-foot deal with her.
There you go. That's awesome.
And I also did a lot of office space.
Yeah.
So this is at 2300 Mockingbird, and I don't even know. I think the city's in there now. Yeah. But I found out that they were selling, and somebody was going to take the whole building, and there was a bunch of tenants in there.
Mm-hmm.
So This is not, when I was still a leasing agent. I went in there and taped my business card on all the stalls in the men's restrooms. I made 3 deals out of that building.
You knew they were moving.
And I went to see, Hewlett called me and said, come in here, I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
And he said, did you do this? And he knew the owner. That's another thing. And I said, yes, sir, I did. And he said, good job.
Man, I had a situation like that. I got wind of a multi-tenant building that was going into foreclosure and everybody was going to have to move out. I guess, I don't know if they didn't have SNDAs or whatever. And man, I just went over there and I moved every tenant out of it. It's over off of Quaker Street.
Oh, I'm a Quaker. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Quaker.
And man, I went and put everybody in a building somewhere. So, when you started building buildings, were you building warehouses and offices?
Yeah, both.
What did you build first, warehouse or office?
Warehouse.
Okay.
Yeah, warehouse.
What was your first warehouse you built at Vantage?
Probably Regal Business Center.
1499 Regal Row.
Mm-hmm.
So that's funny. I have a lot of history with that building.
Oh yeah. Well, the flex in the front,
the back.
All the warehouses in the back.
It had got all converted to kind of flex stuff.
So they shallow depth, and they were 18-foot clear.
Oh wait, this might be a different building. This was
with a showroom in the front, and then.
What was it? Is it 1499?
I can't even remember. But
is it
Regal Business Center?
Oh, I think Regal Business Center is down on the other side.
Right down on
close to the railroad tracks.
Yeah, Regal Row.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. I had another building. I know what building you're talking about.
Irving Boulevard in Regal Row.
Yes. Oh. Monnet owns that now.
Oh, really?
Yes. All the man. I'll tell you what. I don't know if you've been there lately, but I don't think they've touched it since you built it.
Ooh.
It is rough.
But let me tell you how this is crazy. In the flex building in the front, the restrooms are shared between 2 tenants. I don't think they do that nowadays.
No, that thing's, I would say, probably 20% occupied.
1974.
Yeah, it's
75.
Did you build all the adjacent larger warehouses right there?
Later on we did. Yeah, no, I think Regal Business Center needs to be a land site, honestly, because the owner of it won't put a dime into it, and it just sits there and kind of rots away right now. But I haven't been down there in a long time.
No, God. So, but all those other warehouses right there, I think I've put a tenant in just about every single one of them.
I know them all. Cold called all those streets.
So that was the first one you built. That's pretty cool. What was the first office building you built?
Probably, I was trying to think. I can't even think of which one was the small. Of course, I was involved in 2777 Stemmons, our headquarters.
Okay.
That was sort of where I was involved in getting it finished out and all that for us.
Yeah.
But Mockingbird, where Mockingbird Mall is, and that was really my first project as a office leasing.
What? So obviously, it has to be harder to build an office than it does a warehouse, right? Or
we built a lot of two-story, two-story, and it's not that difficult.
That's not that difficult. No, but if you're building a multi-story office,
it's a little more complicated.
Yeah,
like Walnut Hill. Walnut Glen, it's 18 stories, and they built that one.
Yeah.
It's got an 18-story atrium in it too.
Oh my gosh!
Can you believe that? My first tenant. This is a good one. This was what year was it? 83, 84, 85. About 85 or 86. I put Dr. Pepper in there.
Yeah.
With a 5-year lease with 2 years free.
That's amazing. That
was 86.
And what did that lease for per foot?
I think it was 16.
Oh, that's actually pretty.
I can't remember really. 13, maybe 13.
Yeah. Well, it's not as low as I thought it'd be. But what do you think?
No, that's gross.
Oh yeah. Well, so yeah. And I guess OpEx now comparatively are $10 a foot on an office building. So that's really not. What do you think about all these old offices? What do you think's going to happen with them?
I think it'll be torn down.
Yeah.
A bunch of them there was 2 and 3 stories that we built, in Richardson, Plano.
Mm-hmm.
We built that black, it's 14 stories.
Yeah.
in Plano, where we it's called Republic Street, and we put a Republic Bank in there.
Yeah.
And I went there the other day, and it's basically all surface parking. And that's what I think you're going to see is people that are, well, look at what Craig Hall has done.
Yeah.
Tore down several buildings that he built 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
And building those high-rise stuff.
Do you think
a lot of it's going into industrial? I know a couple deal where they're tearing down office buildings and building industrial.
And cities are getting on board with that, I guess. And I mean, because you're having to buy these buildings at dirt, right?
Yeah.
And the challenge is like, as an office owner, like you probably need to upgrade all these things and do all this work, and you don't even know that you're going to get a tenant if you do all that.
It's just all the B's and C's are in trouble.
Yeah.
And the A's and A pluses are getting all the deals.
Yeah.
Because people want, as we know, people want the amenities.
Yeah.
And the amenities are drawing the larger companies there, so their employees don't want to go somewhere else.
Right. Yeah.
All you have to do is drive right down the tollway here, and you see what the big vacancies are there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
On the other side.
What's that? I mean, I think I remember seeing earlier this year, like the Colonnades was in receivership, and all that stuff. But we had a bank bring us a deal, and they said, "Hey, you can buy the note off of us." It was a 220,000 foot building at Legacy. Like, I mean, Class A, awesome building. We could bought it for $66 a foot. The note. God. And I was like, I don't know what I'd do with this. So that the owner of the building ended up getting it refinanced, but they were headed towards a heartbreak.
All the B's and C's are going to have problems.
Yeah. So how long were you at Vantage?
I was there almost 20 years.
Okay. So your first 20 years of real estate.
Well, yeah, because I started in 74, but when 86 hit, we called in 22 lenders and couldn't tell them how much we could pay them, but we needed to borrow another $40 million. They did it. And then John came in my office one day and told me, this was B87, told me, Jesse, you and none of your people work for Vantage anymore. I go, what? Yeah, I have sold the management and leasing of Vantage to some British gentlemen. I said, what? Yeah, you're going to have a British group that's going to be, I've sold it to them. So here's a map of England. I want you to pick the name of your company. I said, what? He said, yeah, it's got to be an English name, and I want you to pick the name of your company. Here's the English map. I go, Bradford? He said, yeah, we'll use that. And Art said, okay.
That's how Bradford got its name?
That's how Bradford got its name.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Most people don't know that.
No, that's a very interesting. So, okay. So then you start Bradford at that point. And
I was there for 92, 93, 94, I believe it. And then I started Wilcox with Ray Hunt. And I was there 3 or 4 years. And then we sold it. Then I started CMC with Sebastian Katandi, and we were together 10 years. Yeah.
So, let's talk about Wilcox for a minute. Were y'all doing the same thing, just build the suits and all that stuff?
Thing.
And was John continuing to do build the suits at that point? And
I can't even remember.
Yeah. And then but Bradford just stayed.
Bradford did. I mean, we did build suits at Bradford.
Oh, okay, you did.
Oh, yeah.
And then but they don't really seem to do that anymore. They're more just leasing and management.
Well, they do, but they own a bunch of buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And Kevin, when I left, I told Art Ruff, who was my boss at the time. Art asked me, who should I put in charge? I said, get Kevin. He's the only one around that I trust. Yeah. He's made it for a while.
He's ran it ever since. So and then what? Let me kind of go off course here a little bit. When did you get into polo?
I got in 1981.
How did you get into polo?
Well, it's crazy. I grew up on a ranch. Matter of fact, I had several things. When I was 7 years old, I had a paper route on horseback for the Fort Worth Star Telegram.
That's awesome. How you when you were 7?
On a 16-hand horse.
You're 7-year-old rolling around on a horse delivering newspapers.
I had to go across the river in Glen Rose, Biloxi, and get my papers at my uncle's tailor shop. Come back across the river and deliver my papers. That's when we lived about a mile or two outside of town, and I had to ride the horse in to get the papers. And then we moved out in 1953. We moved out there to the ranch.
Yeah.
I started milking a cow when I was 9. You know, my boys think milk comes in a carton.
Yeah.
And so, that's, you know, how I got it, because I rode my first bull at 13. My dad was a rodeo performer, a roper.
I thought when I was 14, I thought I wanted to be a bull rider. I rode a bull once.
Yeah, I rode several after that.
I never wanted to do that again.
Then we'd pay to go buck out at Mesquite. Remember when you could pay $5 and buck out? We did that.
Yeah. I did that once. I remember getting in that chute and putting the rigging on, and I was like, "This is a bad idea." That thing was pissed off.
Oh gosh! So I started steer roping.
Okay.
And I had my own horse and everything, steer roping. And then Jerry Avert called me one day and said, "Hey, boy, you ought to try this sport." I said, "What sport?" He said, "Polo." I said, "On a horse?" He goes, "Yeah, on a horse." I said, "You got to ride one of those little bitty saddles?" And he said, "Yep." I said, "I'll never do that." Only did it for 30 years.
Oh, that's awesome. So did you play all over? Like,
I played in Europe, and I played in Mexico and Argentina a lot. In Argentina.
Probably meet a lot of LPs in polo. There's probably some very wealthy people that play polo.
Yes, they are. Because you think about it, you know, you got 6 chuckers and you got at least 1 horse. You can usually carry 8 horses to the game.
Yeah. You
got 4 players on each side, plus the umpires. So you got 70 horses at a polo match.
Golly.
And it's playing. You know, I played in California. I played all over the United States.
Yeah. Did you ever get injured playing polo?
A lot.
I would think so.
I broke both the small bones of my leg.
Yeah.
Because you can use your horse and hit the other horse at less than a 25-degree angle.
Yeah.
So you get hit right there, and then I wrapped my leg up, and then I got hurt pretty bad. A horse fell with me, and I broke my collarbone, my scapula, and 4 ribs.
So you're out leasing buildings with a sling on and crutches and all this stuff from your polo tournaments over the weekends. Oh man. So, okay. So sorry. I want to touch on that because you're the only person I know that's played polo.
Yeah. Then I had my own club, Las Colinas Polo Club.
Yeah.
It was my own club. That was my club.
Yeah.
I started that in 96 and I kept it till 2014.
Oh, okay. When was the last time you got on a horse and played polo?
Probably when I was about 70 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, down to Oscar Bermudez Sky. I might have been a little older than 70.
Yeah.
Sticking the ball in. That's what we call just riding around hitting the ball.
Oh, yeah.
I was in my 70s.
Yeah. It's awesome. Okay. So back on the real estate train, you started Wilcox, then you sold that. You started
Wilcox, and then we sold that. And then I started CMC.
CMC. And how long did you have
10
CMC?
years.
10 years. Then you sold that.
Yeah, we did. Sebastian and I kind of divided it.
Okay. Got it.
I mean, I've been at Somervell 14 years.
Okay. So you started Somervell after CMC, and that was that.
At 15 years.
Okay.
15 years.
So, how did you end up in Robert Lynn's office?
Funny you would ask that. Well, because doing it at CMC, we built we had a lot of deals.
Mm-hmm.
We had a German gentleman that furnished the money, and we built 10 million feet probably.
Yeah.
In San Antonio and all over, and plus Dallas too.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Mark Miller and Rick Medinas and Becky doing my leasing for me.
Yeah.
On a bunch of my projects.
Yeah.
And so I was off up the tollway here in one of the buildings, and talked to Mark, and I said, he and I decided I could come over there and open up my Somervell at Robert Lynn.
Yeah.
And so I said, sounds good. And I came over and opened it up. Of course, I pay a fee on each deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's 14 years ago I moved there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great group of guys over there, man. It's a lot of friends over there.
Yeah.
So.
It's really changed a lot.
I mean, yeah.
It's grown so much since I've been there.
Yeah, no, it's I never worked there, but I kind of worked there in a way. It's like, Jeff and Mark started buying all those buildings and I was managing them. And then they, when they decided I was kind of done managing, and they started their management company with that portfolio. But I'd go up there on the weekends all the time with Jeff and hang out and see Mark and all those guys. And it's just a little shop at that time. And now they're, golly.
I don't even know how many people.
I don't know how
now
many
since they're in Houston, and Fort Worth does well too. Fort Worth's really, really grown.
Well, that's old T-Hub. So.
T-Hub, boy, he's tough.
He's good. He was my roommate at Tech.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
holy cow.
So I was real good friends with these guys. So when I moved in the dorm,
what dorm?
I was in Weymouth.
Oh, that's fancy. I was in Bledsoe 5 years.
I heard Weymouth's not
fancy
it's
anymore.
Not fancy anymore.
Oh, we had no AC.
Yeah. Oh.
And the showers are all those community showers.
Yep. And we had community showers in Weymouth. Yeah. So,
in Bledsoe Hall, a guy named John Duchendorf lived down the hall.
Yeah.
You know who John Dimber?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
John Duchendorf lived right down the hall from it. I've seen him naked.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, no. So I moved in the dorm. There was these guys that lived next door to me that were from Early, Brownwood area.
Early, Texas?
Yeah.
Played them in football.
Yeah, they were from Early. And we became really good friends with them. And we'd kind of like go back to their house, on weekends or something, anyways. And Todd was from Early, and
I didn't even know. Oh, Brownwood.
He's from Brownwood, but he'll tell you Brownwood because not many people know where Early is.
Yeah, he says Brownwood,
but he graduated from Early High School.
Okay.
So, and so Todd, we met at we all went on spring break together at South Padre, and
we all did that. Didn't we?
Yeah, and Todd, me and Todd get to talking, and we kind of really hit it off. And he was like, "Well, hey man, I'm gonna go get my master's at Tech." And I was like, "Well, where are you gonna live?" He goes, "I don't know." I go, "Well, why don't we just live together?" So we moved in together. Man, we lived together about 2.5 years and 3 years.
In Weymouth?
And, no, we lived in an apartment at that time. So he was
where?
Right up by the mall, Slide.
Oh, okay. Oh, and, Slide.
And so. And so then Todd was about to take this job in El Paso to go work for some company. I was like, dude, and this was after we'd left. I was back in Dallas, and I was like, man, don't go work in El Paso. I go, call my brother. He's figured something out, man. I don't know. He's making a bunch of money doing real estate stuff. And so Jeff hired him at Robert Lynn, sent him out to Fort Worth, and
yeah, he's been there, and he's exploded. He got it. They're doing very, very well.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
Yes, good people.
Yeah,
he's really done a good job.
Yeah, we still talk every day. He sells me buildings now, and leases buildings for me, and Yeah, no. So yeah, me and we're going on vacation in a couple of weeks together.
Where are y'all going?
We're going to Carmel.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So me and my roommate that I started the dorm with from Tech, we're all still all buddies and all that stuff. So we're all us and our wives are all going to Carmel. And so,
Carmel is good. I've been there.
I've never been there. Someone told me one time, "Hey, have you ever been there?" Like, no. They're like, it's like the most beautiful place on earth.
It is pretty.
And
it's close. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. Carmel.
Yeah. and we were just all sitting around dinner. I was like, "Hey, I heard this place is beautiful. You want to go there?" And so that's we're going there. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, no, they've done incredible. So, and then so Somerville, so it's really just you, right? And
just me, really.
Yeah.
And the reason is the Bob Moore contractors. They've built 40 buildings for me.
Gotcha.
We even built a building in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Wow. You went all the way up there.
Yeah. That was a crazy story that they took a busload of people from here. It's not a non-union.
Yeah.
We shipped them to New York and they stayed in a hotel and had to pay the way for our non-union people to go to work. So Bob Moore, but we started building buildings with Bob Moore in 1983.
Wow.
And the reason we did, because Vanco and Charter, the two buildings, Ulick owned them.
Okay.
And so I was always, he was getting a profit from Vanco and a profit from and Crow's prices were always below us. And I was getting killed.
Yeah.
So I asked him if we could use another contractor, and he was no 10 times. And finally, he let me bring Bob Moore in.
Yeah.
And Bob Moore did a job, and I can't even remember now which one. Oh, yeah, I do remember. It's off the Post and Paddock in Arlington. Yep. Three little buildings there. And whatever we were supposed to get half the savings.
Okay.
And so Philip Bell brings me the check after the project's over, hands it to me. It was a pretty good sized check. And I took it into Ulick, and he looks at me and goes, he tears it up.
Why?
Because he still wanted me to use Vanco.
Oh. Oh man. No, man, you might be their top customer, huh?
Well, but then I use the same architects, same engineers, same lawyers, same. So it's myself, but it's friends.
Yeah. You got a team.
People you trust, and that's what life is really all about.
Yeah. It's funny. I've never built a building. I've met with people about building a building. I've met with Bob Moore. I've met with Panato. Met with, all these.
I like Teddy a lot.
Arco Murray or LGE, all these people. I will say this, the one out of all those people, I'm not really a prospect. All of them took time to meet with me. Out of all of them, Bob Moore's team took the time more than anyone did. And literally, they have a great sales. I don't know what their sales process is, but I think it's very good because if they were so consistent about following up with me forever. I've never even bought a piece of dirt to build a building, but I had a meeting with them and I became a prospect. And I've always been impressed with that by them, that the sales, being a salesman, I always respect a very good sales process.
Yes, that's the way I am too.
And so, and they send out a great thing now that I'm on an email list where they tell you, hey, what's the price per foot on a
Yeah, I get it, obviously.
It's a great,
great tool, and I share it with a lot of people.
Yeah.
They asking me about how much is 100,000 square foot building cost, or a 400 or 200. Yeah. That way I say, here it is.
Yeah. It's that's a great thing because especially I would always get a guy, that we always had a joke at Mercer Company. It was like the guy that's going to tell you he wants to build his own building. I want to go build my own building. Well, out of the 100 that buy the piece of land to do it, 99 of them call us back and ask us to sell the land because it's too hard to build a building.
Yeah, they can't build it themselves.
They can't do it. But it was always nice to have that sheet to be like, what's it cost? Well, here's what it costs.
Yeah.
You got to add. This is just a shell.
That's their sales technique, and it's a good. Yeah, and my son one of my sons is working for Bob Moore.
Okay. Yeah.
Right now, he's a civil engineer.
Yeah.
And Josh, and he's doing putting proposals together and everything.
Man, I'll tell you what. We we don't really market that. We do this with one JV partner, but we do some residential developments. Yeah,
okay.
down in the Temple Belton area.
Oh yeah, good area.
And one of my partners is a civil. And man, when you're leasing and selling existing buildings, like, you never really run into a civil. You know what I mean? I didn't even know what a civil engineer was.
They're the most important engineer on your building.
Absolutely.
In the days where, if you got a piece of land, you better have the civil look at it first, because it isn't flat.
No.
And there's always drainage.
Yes. It has been such a learning experience. Thankfully, my partner is a civil on it, and, she's incredible. But, they just know so much about what's going to happen. I have a civil up here that I use just to kind of bounce things off of on existing, because we're buying these sites with the land, we want to regrade the land and repave it, or create water issues, Yeah. But I don't know. It's kind of like a fascinating piece of real estate to me that I've discovered later in life that I didn't really understand.
Kyle McCullough. I don't know if you know McCullough Architects. Well, his dad, I guess Kyle and I have done maybe 40 buildings, but Kyle his dad passed away and he took over the company, and he's starting another company. But what's good about Kyle, he can do the civil roughly, but he's a complete architect. So I'll bring a site. He kind of knows what to do, because we use a couple other civils. Yeah, and he'll draw me the bill, and I can get it priced. If I can get a piece of property and I give it to Kyle, and I can get a piece of property in the building and give it to Bob Moore within a week.
Yeah. It's awesome.
From a piece of raw dirt.
Yeah.
Survey. Have to have a survey.
So are you buying the land yourself, or are you just doing this for people that own the land, or they're investors and they need someone to come develop the site out?
Right.
And then, so I know we've talked about, you've done some incredible deals, but didn't you do a bunch of the quick trip stuff too for them? And
I'm going to give you this.
Okay.
And the reason I did this.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's pretty.
I've sold 14 quick trips.
Oh, okay. So
and I've done some sites. I got to know them real well. I did a few sites for them, and then I sold some.
So did you just get them the pad and then build the building for them?
No, they do all
their own construction.
You can find the sites for them, but they do all their own construction.
Yeah.
And I got to know, it's a family company.
Yeah.
And I got to know them real well, and I still do.
Yeah.
And I sold a package of their buildings for them, and they, it's a long-term lease. They lease it long-term. Well,
that's what we were, I was kind of briefly telling you earlier, we're starting to do a lot of debt now, and we're doing a lot of just preferred equity for developers on a lot of C-store stuff, What's great about it for me, especially on the C-store side, is the developers buying it's funny, I call them a developer, but I'm like, at the end of the day, you just bought the dirt. But the great thing for me is on being part of the capital is, I know, I like, the sponsor knows what they're doing, but the good thing is the tenant's building the building, and they do this all day, every day, So we've done, some Murphy's fuel stations, or working on some Circle K's, I mean, this is a machine for these people. They, this is their livelihood. So they want to get these stores up,
And Quick Trip is a little prejudiced. I think they're by far the best.
Yeah, no, it's a great brand. It's
clean restrooms.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But they are. I love working with them, and the people are really, really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Down home, honest handshake people.
Yeah. So you've developed a ton of these now larger bulk distribution warehouses, spec and build to suit. Where do you kind of see that market now?
Well, I think, like we were talking, I think that right now the bigger buildings the vacancy factor is big there.
Yeah.
We're in smaller buildings, and that's why I've gone to the metal and smaller buildings, because their vacancy factor is a lot less. Plus, you got some of these companies that are small companies want to own their own building.
Yeah.
You really can't find much space to buy.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a 10 or a 20 or a 30,
No.
they're hard to find.
No.
Kind of like my dad said, it's like hen's teeth. They're hard to find.
Yeah. So where are you finding land, though? There's no land left, it seems like, anywhere infill Dallas.
Well, that's why you can't do it in Dallas.
Yeah. You got to go outside.
Well, I've got Frisco. We're doing some there in Frisco and in Little Elm, and then going up to Denison.
Yeah.
And it's all going to go that way, you know. I moved to Frisco in 95. We had 8,000 people.
Yeah.
We have more than that now.
Yeah. That's what when I moved to Prosper, I think it was about 8,000 people. We didn't have a grocery store.
Yeah, we didn't have a grocery store either.
I had to go to Frisco for the grocery store. You had to go to Plano.
Yeah.
It's the natural evolution of all these things, you know. But yeah, no, I mean, that's where the dirt is. You know, it's amazing that, you know, no one's really developed out in Prosper, Salina on industrial that much because there's not a lot of infrastructure and they probably don't want it, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The last part is correct.
Yeah, they don't want it.
They don't want it. I think the price of the land is pretty expensive. You need to start with.
Yeah.
And you're going to find they don't want it.
Yeah.
They'd rather do any kind of commercial or residential.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you also develop retail centers?
Oh, yeah. We built several. I'd say about a million feet total.
Okay. Yeah.
Total.
Yeah.
We built 600,000, 400,000 at Mesquite.
Mm-hmm.
And then my last project was in Frisco.
Yeah.
On 423 and El Dorado.
Oh, okay.
Right there. That was my last project.
Yeah. So are no one's really going out for spec right now, right? No one, or unless they're just already pot committed in the deal and got to move forward and finish it up.
Yeah.
And
well, it's going to be difficult. Well, and to start with, because of the price of money.
Yeah.
The price of money is going to keep you handcuffed for a while.
So I've always said this. I don't know where I stole it from, but I'm going to have you validate it. But development is never done to the need of supply and demand, but more to the cost of capital?
Probably true.
Okay.
And it is because when it's 4%, you're going to build like hell.
Yeah.
When it's 7%, you're not going to build at all. So,
do you think some of these people will just maybe start selling the buildings to users, or
the bigger? I don't know how they're going to do some of these 800,000 million square footers. I don't know. I can't. You know, I don't know the buyers that are out there, but we're lucky. People are moving to Texas.
Yeah.
And companies are moving to Texas. Just paper yesterday, we had 3 or 4 more companies moving here.
Yeah.
And that's what is going. We're so lucky to live where we live, and it's you know, how'd you like to be in L.A. right now?
Well,
I don't mean Lubbock area. I mean,
yeah.
That's what I tell people when they say, "Where are you going this weekend?" "Oh, I'm going to L.A." "Oh, that sounds exciting." "Oh, Lubbock area."
Yeah. I saw this. I think I was on Twitter the other day in some tech thread, and someone goes, "Visit Lubbock," and it had like this guy put like mountains and streams and all this stuff on there
in his dream.
Yeah.
Sandstorm, you know, in Bledsoe Hall. We'd even put athletic tape around the windows. Mm-hmm. You'd wake up in the morning and sand would be on your teeth.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
cover all your sheets and everything.
Yeah. I remember we were practicing during spring one time, and one came through.
They called ours off.
Oh, yeah, they called ours. We had to go inside and all that stuff.
Well,
we had the bubble. So
yeah, you had the bubble. We didn't have anything.
Yeah. What was it? I remember I took my son to Texas Tech football camp when he was a little kid, and I took Tommy, Jeff's son, with me, and we were driving in, and he goes, "Man, I want to see one of these West Texas storms." And I mean, man, he got it. Like we were coming into Lubbock, and it was like the sky's green, and you know, just one of those summer crazy storms they have out there, and you know, everything floods in like a 2 seconds, all of a sudden, because so much rain will come down.
Well, we don't have a sewer system. It's just the dips.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you how bad off I was. This is kind of sad. I had an old 59 Chevrolet that had been handed down 10 times. And my girlfriend came from a pretty wealthy family in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'd go over those dips and the water would come up and she had to wear something on her head all the time. So because the water would come up. And Jane Ann Hill, and she's probably going to kill me if she ever hears this. But so I had to push that car to start it.
Yeah.
And so, but she got worried. She'd help me push it,
Yeah.
So I went to her house in Austin there.
Yeah.
And her dad owned a Austin Chemical Company.
Okay.
And so they had a nice place.
Yeah.
So I parked the car on the hill. And so to start it, she'd get in and I'd push.
Yeah.
And then we went to dinner and came back and I parked it on the hill. Her mother comes up to me and says, "Son, if you can't afford a nicer car, would you not date my daughter?"
What'd you say to her?
"Yes, ma'am." And I pushed it off.
Was that the end?
Lord, no. Oh, no. No, we dated for about 3 years.
Oh, it's funny. So, let me go through a couple things I always like to ask. Well, you already went over your cold call. That was pretty good. One thing I was thinking about this the other day. I have this buddy. He always gives us he's married to my wife's best friend, and we'll go out to dinner or something, a group of us, and he'll give everybody lottery tickets. He gives everybody a lottery ticket. And it's funny, I don't really make a bunch of cold calls anymore, but I would call all the time. I would get, that I call him the gatekeeper that would, and like, you ain't getting past this. I was like, man, I went to Jeff and them's meeting one day and I was like, y'all need to go get a bunch of lottery tickets. And when that lady won't let you buy, just give her a lottery ticket. Yeah. Like,
that's a good idea.
You're going to break someone. You're going to win someone over on that. So taking that girl a dozen roses worked out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, then I called on office.
Yeah.
And I had the police called on me several times. And I'd run down the fire escape, get out.
Yeah.
Because they'd call the cops on me. And I bet you 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. It's funny, Will and I have been, raising capital and stuff. And we started cold calling on just people for capital. And I don't think anyone's ever had them like run up in their office and be like, "Hey, y'all want to invest in some buildings?" and stuff like that. So, well, let me ask you this. What, did you ever have any sketchy situation when you made cold calls? I mean, it seems like you can get in some industrial buildings sometimes. You get into some scary situations.
Well, not really. I think the worst was the cops chasing me out of a bunch of those buildings.
Yeah.
But I did find a lot of our vacant space, a lot of guys living in it.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. I've never caught anybody living in it. I've just had them in there.
I had them living in there.
Yeah.
Living in there.
Man. Well, what was, I always like to ask this, what's like one of the most unique deals you pulled off, or like, what's a deal that you did that you always kind of think like, that's like my cornerstone deal I did? And
golly, there were so many of that I did. I can't really pick one. I think one I like best is Quick Trip's warehouse down in Midlothian.
Okay. So how did that happen?
Well, I had just sold a package for them, and they were looking for a warehouse space, and it's pretty good size. It's 250,000 to 300,000, and they didn't think they wanted it, and I took them down there. It's 42 foot clear, and they went and then got that building and got the additional acreage for them, and everybody in the world was trying to show them space, and I got that one for them.
So this building was existing? Who owns the building?
I can't even remember.
But did they end up buying it off of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good deal.
It was a good deal. And I did a lot of build-a-suits. They were good build-a-suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did so many build-a-suits.
And you probably got someone, you kind of go stamp out their buildings for them wherever they needed to go too, right? You have a couple, like a tenant.
No, really didn't have that many.
No,
we didn't.
No, just
I did build a 500,000 in Chicago.
Did you?
In Itasca, Illinois.
Yeah.
And but that's was from a deal we did here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there have been a bunch of build-to-suits.
Have you ever built outside of the United States? No,
I never have.
But you said New York's probably the farthest you went, huh?
Well, at one time we had offices in Columbus, Cincinnati, Atlanta, Memphis, Chicago, Denver, a couple other cities that we had our own offices and developing in those areas.
Was this Vantage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. I didn't realize.
Tampa, Orlando. Yeah, we had offices in all those cities.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. I thought it was just Dallas.
No.
Wow.
You had a huge one in Houston.
Yeah.
Our Houston offices was huge. And Denver was huge too. I built a bunch of stuff. CMC, but we built a bunch of stuff that CMC did in Denver.
Okay, here's another question I like to ask. What's kind of like your habits and things that you do on the regular that just kind of always made you successful?
Working hard.
Now,
I still get up at 5:30 every morning.
Yeah.
Have my oatmeal.
Yeah.
Hit the street.
Yeah.
And I think, and I wear a tie every day. Ulick said, "You never know when you're going to meet a prospect."
Yeah.
That's my philosophy, and that's the way I made all my guys that work for me too.
Yeah.
And but I just think it takes. I worked every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget. This is can't even think of the year, but Bob Lynn and Eccles and Lynn.
Yeah.
And they had a prospect on a Saturday, and they called the office, and I was there. So we took them, looked at space. Matter of fact, we had a 10,000 square foot space on Vantage Street. That's where John started, and that's why it's called Vantage. He started on Vantage in this little 10,000 square foot building.
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Yeah, he'd take it." So we go back to the office, and none of us could type. And so I wrote it out in pencil and made him sign it and initial it and the prints in ink.
That is awesome.
And then when Monday came, I got my secretary to type it up, but he'd already signed it in ink. So I kept a copy of the pencil.
I work every Saturday. It's me and Will and Jeff went to dinner last night. We were talking, and it's like, when we're all real estate junkies. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I am.
Yeah, I mean, we were just real estate junkies, and we're like, just like, I don't know how it ever ends. I don't know how we ever turn it off. I was like,
I'm not quitting.
Yeah.
I'm 79.
Yeah,
it's the 50th year.
Yeah,
and I told my wife my last deal is going to be a casket.
Yeah.
Or she said she'd scatter my ashes on the football field at Glenrose, and I said that'd be okay.
Yeah, there you go. The other day I was over at Jeff's office and I was walking out, and this guy walks in. He's like, "Hey, I'm interested in the building next door." I said, "Well, my brother's listening to that. Let me go get him real quick." We come back down, we start talking to this guy, and he goes, "Well, I used to own this building, the one that Jeff owns now on Stemmons." And he goes, "I'm interested in that one." And we're like, and he's like, "Well, I'm 93. Like, this guy was 93 and still going around like calling on buildings. And
Who was he?
I can't remember his name.
I probably know him.
You probably do. But
you know where the technology is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know that land, 40 acres, was owned by Mary Kay.
Okay.
And we bought it from Mary Kay.
Uh-huh.
And I put all those streets in and everything and built that flex building in the back and on the side.
Yeah.
And then shit hit the fan in 86.
Yeah.
And so we lost that.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I borrowed half the money from that. I made 128,000 square foot office deal with Mary Kay too. Yeah. Mary Kay was one of my big clients.
Okay. That's the Mary Kay deal was probably my biggest deal I pulled off when I sold their annex building off of their manufacturing plant.
Oh, and, that's over off
Regal.
Yeah.
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 So Mary Kay had sold it. They were still in there, but they'd already sold it off to a group. And I knew that group wasn't going to use the annex warehouse.
Yeah.
And some guy called me.
You mean inside the park there where I put the streets and everything?
No, on Regal Row where the manufacturing plant was.
Oh, well, that's right. I forgot where it was. Yeah.
And that was kind of my deal. Me and Turner at
okay.
Mercer Company pulled that thing off. It was we sold the building and signed a 7-year lease on it the same day. And the investor that we sold it to was threatening us the whole time. I'm not closing unless you find a tenant. I'm not closing unless you find a tenant. And I found a tenant. Me and Turner found a tenant. So,
well, you know, the biggest, I drive by it all the time, and you know where Mary Kay is now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Carter, her cousin, bought that from the RTC for $36 a foot.
Golly.
The building and all the land. I don't even think that. And she paid $75 a foot. And every time I go by there and all that land is around there, what is it worth today?
Oh gosh, who knows?
Yeah, I used to go to Mary Kay's house for parties. She had a circular house there for a while.
Okay,
over by the mall, and I'd go there. She'd invite me over there for parties every once in a while.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Richard, her son, Richard, her son, I used to use his yacht down in BVI.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
man, she was something else, man.
Boy, can you believe? Oh gosh,
you know, she there's a building on Regal Row. Oh, gosh, I can't remember the address on it, but she was working in that building with 2 other guys.
No,
you might know this.
No, hear the story.
Okay.
This is what was told to me by John Ulick.
Okay.
You know where Security Row is?
Yeah.
She was officing in there in Security Row, and Richard was a little boy, and she needed more space than John moved her over off of Regal Row, off of Regal Row in that little warehouse area. That's where he moved her there.
Okay. This was before that. So she's working at this building, at this company there. This is what I heard. And she walks in one day, she goes, guys, I think we need to start a cosmetic company. And they just all laughed at her.
She did.
She did it, man. She did it. So
now Richard Rogers' son is running it now.
Yeah. Golly, what an empire, man.
And every time I drive by that we went by it because I go, what is this thing? How many acres of great industrial could you put on it?
Yeah, right. Just immediately where your head goes. I was like asking this too. Is there a book that you've ever read that you really like or anything, or, you know?
What I do, it's something kind of strange. I like World War II.
Okay.
I probably got 30 books about World War II, and I even have a World War II encyclopedias. I think there's 10 books. And to me, that was, growing up, I had every model plane you could imagine hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
We grew up in a 1,200 square foot house, 8 people.
Yeah. Golly, that's packed in there.
Well, it's, that's the way we were out in the country. No AC.
Yeah.
And we'd have to create maybe this might be R-rated, that the boys couldn't pee in the house. We had to go outside to pee.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford to put the water.
Yeah.
Mother would have to heat water for us in a tub, and the tub is about the size of this bed, this
table.
And so we had, it was pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
But I like World War II.
Yeah, that's I get a lot of people that say war history.
Yeah, I like war history too. I did a little Civil War. I read a lot of Civil War books.
Yeah,
Civil War.
No,
Texas Revolution.
Yeah. I started. I like reading a lot of autobiographies on people, like just what their life story was, and what the journey was, and all those things. Probably why I like doing this. It's kind of interesting hearing everybody's story from the beginning. So
what I do now, I read the Wall Street Journal every day.
Yeah,
it's only the real newspaper.
That's Will reads it every morning,
every day.
So he loves reading it. So, well, what's something about you that most people don't know?
Well, there's a couple things. One, I was in jail in Munich.
What'd you do?
I hitchhiked
Okay.
several months in Europe
Uh-huh.
in 1972.
Okay.
I went there. Olympics were held in Munich that year.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's when the Palestinians killed the
Yeah.
Jews.
Yeah.
And I went there because I tried to throw the hammer to go to the Olympics because nobody was throwing the hammer in the United States at that time. Of course, I didn't get close. But the guy I worked out at SMU, and he made it, he's Swede, and he made it to the Olympics. So I was going. Of course, I started off in England, and I hitchhiked. I slept on the side of the road, or youth hostels back then were 25 cents. Yeah. And so I went there to watch him throw, and I got with some Australians, got a little drunk, and they took me up where they were staying, and cops come in, and they have a lot of drugs.
Oh shit!
And I happened to know a person in Frankfurt who was in the military as a captain, and he called him and told him, come get me. He brought a colonel, and they got me out.
Oh, man.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch, mein Herr?
Yeah.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch.
How long were you in jail?
Oh, not too long. 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days. Oh, that worked out. What? Well, I know you're always out there ready to build a building for somebody. So what's the best way for everybody to get a hold of you?
Just call me.
Just call you. There you go. Well, Jesse, man, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it. It's been
thank you,
great
Jeremy.
hearing your story, and
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and thank you for the Somervell commandments. That's I really like that. That's cool.
Yeah, and real estate is a business that I tell people this all the time. I've been rich and I've been poor. I've been rich and I've been poor. It's a very cyclical business, but it's the people in it. I love the relationships I've made over the years.
Yeah, and
my handshake is my deal.
Yeah,
and that's the way I've been successful.
Yeah,
is I've never screwed anybody around, and that's it's unusual in our business.
It is. It's there's certain guys just don't even
go there.
Don't even go over there.
We all know them.
Yeah. But there's a certain group of guys too. You're like, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about my commission agreement. It'll show up. Whatever. So. No, that's true. I always liked saying that, real estate is about real things with people and relationships, and it all has that real in it, and that's that's why I enjoy it so much. So,
yeah, me too.
But well, thanks again, man.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I feel very special.
Yeah, and
I thank you very much. I didn't know what it would be like or anything, and so.
Yeah.
My wife's told me, well, you should have worn a sport coat. And I go, honey, I didn't even bring one to the office.
It's 110 outside.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Jesse Pruitt, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.